All right, everybody, welcome back to another incredible episode of Investing Passively in the US Multifamily Show. I'm your host, Jefferson Ortiz, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jonathan Ortiz. We're here to provide valuable insights and opportunities for passive investors in the multifamily real estate market. Today, we have a true legend in the industry joining us today, Rod Khleif.
That's right, Jefferson.
Legend in his own mind, though. Let's be clear.
Absolutely, that's right, Jefferson. We are absolutely thrilled to have Mr. Rod Khleif here with us today. Rod is a multiple business owner, a philanthropist, and one of the country's top real estate investors at his peak performance, with over 2,000 properties owned and a remarkable journey from setbacks and spectacular goals that he has and achievements. Rod's expertise and insights will be invaluable for the audience. So welcome to the show, Rod.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. Let's have some fun today.
Love it. Okay, Rod. So before we dive into our discussion on real estate and success, could you give the audience a brief overview of your background and what led you to become a real estate entrepreneur and investor?
Sure. So I'm a Dutch immigrant. I was born in the Netherlands, think wooden shoes and windmills, and immigrated when I was 6 years old with my brother Albert and my mother Svantje. We ended up in Denver, Colorado, and we really struggled initially. My mom had to babysit so we'd have enough money to eat, babysit kids. We always had a house full of kids. I remember, we ate expired food because that's all we could afford. So truly they had an expired food store, a day-old bread and so on and so forth. And I remember drinking powdered milk with our cereal in the morning because it was cheaper than real milk. And trust me, it sounds better than it is. And I worked close in the Goodwill and the Salvation Army all the way through junior high school till finally I got disgusted when I was 14 because I was tall for my age and got a job at Burger King flipping burgers so that I could buy my own clothes and ultimately buy a car. But I'm sure you've got listeners that may have had it harder than I did, but I knew I wanted more. And like I said, my mom had an incredible work ethic. So she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. And she was a bit of an entrepreneur with her babysitting money. So she invested in the stock market successfully, and she also invested in real estate. And her first real estate acquisition was a house right across the street from us. She bought when I was about 14 for about $30,000. And then when I was 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep that had gone up in value that much. And I was like, what? You made 20 grand and you didn't do anything? And this was when 20 grand was a lot of money. And I was like, screw college, Mom, I'm getting into real estate. So I got my real estate broker's license, so I could even have my own office back then. You were able to do that through education. Now they got smart, you need some experience to be a broker. But I was a broker and I was smart enough to go work for another broker, but I was still living at home. And my first year in real estate, I made about $8,000. My second year, maybe $10,000 to $12,000. But my third year, I made over $100,000. So what happened between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10x my income? Well, what happened was I met a guy. I was actually dating his daughter. He was the broker I was working for. And he taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology, how 80 to 90% of your success in anything is just that, your mindset and psychology. Only 10 to 20% is the real estate stuff we talk about on our podcast. And, fast forward to today, like you mentioned, John, I've owned over 2,000 properties, early 2,000 houses, and I now own thousands of apartment units. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you might say, wow. And I said, wow. And I got a head so big, I could barely fit it through a freaking door. I thought I was a real estate god. And when that happens, God or the universe, whatever you believe, will give you a nice little smackdown. Well, that was 2008. In 2008 and 9, I lost $50 million conservatively. And so what I'm known for talking about on my podcast and at my boot camps is really the mindset it took to have 50 million to lose in the first place. And then probably more importantly, the mindset it took to recover from losing 50 million. People killed themselves for losing less proportionately in that crash and also the Great Depression. So anyway, so that's my story. Happy to drill down on real estate with you guys or drill down on mindset, whatever direction you want to go.
Absolutely, that's an incredible start right there, Rod. That's amazing. We wanted to know how did you recover from losing the 50 million and the crash of 2008, and how did you achieve your success that you enjoy today?
Sure. Well, it starts with really wanting it. You have to create what's called a burning desire. In Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, you have to create a burning desire. That's what it starts with. So when I lost everything, I had to reassociate with my goals. I had to figure out exactly what I wanted again and why I wanted it. And that's how I got them in the first place. I had to have those goals. And that's how you're able to push through fear or limiting beliefs, or, maybe you're comfortable. And we all know the comfort zone's a nice warm place. And we also know nothing grows there. there, right? And so, when you've got even average ability and you've got a burning desire, success is inevitable. But you also kind of need to find what you love or learn to love whatever you're doing. It starts with goals. And so, if you come to one of my boot camps, I've got one coming up in September in Orlando. The first thing we do for the first hour and a half is goals. I mean, that's it. I mean, how do you get anything if you don't know what it is? And so, if you're listening or watching and you can't, maybe make it to Orlando, I've got a link tree. It's called rodslinks.com. And at the bottom is my goal setting workshop. I do it every year on New Year's Day. So go to rodslinks.com, go to that goal setting workshop and do it. Have your spouse do it. If your kids are over 10 years old, have them do it. People spend more time planning a birthday party than they do designing their lives, and that's designing your life. And so I encourage you to go do that. Again, it's rodslinks.com. If you're driving, text the word links to 72345. So it starts with goals and to create that burning desire. And then you have to make a decision if you're getting started in this business. And back then I had to make a decision when I was losing everything just to pick my butt up and stop whining and feeling sorry for myself and go make it happen again, right? And so, but when I say decision, I'm not talking about dipping your toe in the water. When you make a decision, it is done, okay? It is freaking done. And you're not like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's done. And then you're 100% committed. And when you're 100% committed, you're like a train on a track. When you're just interested or, dipping your toe in the water, you're going to get knocked off track. And so, motivation will get you started, but that commitment is what you need to bring you home. And so, great definition of a decision or an analogy for a decision would be if you're going to attack the island, you're going to burn your ships because you're taking their damn ships home. That's a freaking decision. Okay. It's done. Okay. And so, it starts with that. But then after that, you have to take that first step. Like if you're brand new to this business or any business, you've got to take that first step, and that can be the scariest step of your life and the most important step. Dr. Martin Luther King said, you take that first step in faith and the next step will be revealed. Lao Tzu, thousands of years ago, said the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but you got to take it. And, we see it in the real estate, with my coaching students all the time. It takes 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, sometimes a year, and they don't get their a deal. And then they get that first deal, and the next thing I know, they've got 3. I'm like, what the hell just happened? It's that law of the first deal. It's the scariest. It's the most stressful. It takes the longest. Well, it's the same way with that first step. And, in our business, we get a lot of analytical people. And you know who you are if you're listening or watching. You know who you are, and you have to check off every single box before you make a move. Well, it's very difficult to be a success doing that, okay? Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. And what I would give you is an analogy, and that is you can drive all the way across the United States at night with your headlights only seeing 60 feet in front of you. And, you may have some obstacles, but you'll make it, or Canada as well. I'm sorry, I forgot you guys are in Canada. You could drive all the way across Canada at night, and you'll make it. Other people have done it before you, but it's the same way with your goals, but you've got to take that first step and get going. You don't have any regrets. A lot of people would feel fear of failure. I'm going to tell you, fear regret much more than failure. There was this nurse in Australia that was a hospice nurse. So she took care of patients when they were about to die. And she asked them a question. And the question was, do you have any regrets? She wrote a book about it, something called like the 5 regrets of dying. You know what the number 1 regret was? Not living the life I could have lived, living someone else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. I couldn't think of anything worse than that. Don't fear failure, fear regret.
Wow.
And, we have to talk about having courage. We have to talk about having integrity. Those are also two super important pieces. And living from a place of abundance, recognizing that you have to have an abundance mindset. The poorest people live with a limitations mindset. People with abundance know there's enough on earth for everybody. Of course, people in scarcity think there are limitations and they have a hard time being happy with other people's success. But when you're loving what you're doing, that inspiration attracts abundance. So you've got to do that. And when you tell the universe or God, whatever you believe what you want, God will conspire to make it happen. Okay. And I've got a sign. It's actually downstairs. I thought it's up here, but it's actually in my exercise room that says God's wealth flows through me in avalanches of abundance. Thank you, God. And just recognize that it takes the same amount of effort to demand prosperity and abundance that it takes to accept poverty and misery, right? And of course, whatever you focus on, you're going to get more of. So how do you bring abundance into your life? You got to make a decision, and so that's how you do it. The problem with waiting is you think you have time. And successful people, they're action takers. They get up early, they stay up late, they push, they get out of comfort to really live. And so, that plus believing in yourself and making sure that you take care of your health and energy so you've got plenty of energy to do all the things you want to do. I've got students that have had very high paying W-2 jobs. They had families, they had kids, and they built their, portfolio of thousands of units on the side, but they had to have energy. So they have to pay attention to what they're eating. And I tell them, grind for a few years like most people won't. You live the rest of your life like most people can't. And when you start, sometimes you have to act as if. You got to fake it till you make it. Nobody starts out world class or successful at anything. It takes hard work and discipline. But even when you're presenting a meetup group or a podcast, when I first started, I had total imposter syndrome, but I would interview people that were experts, and of course, because I was hosting the event, I was perceived as an expert, just asking the right questions. And so those are some of the pieces. I could keep going if you like, guys.
That was amazing. I mean, that was amazing. No, we love it. I mean, mindset, goals, analogies, fear, overcoming setbacks, limitations. If you're interested in attending this bootcamp and learning more about it, we'll be sure to attach Rod's link.
Here's what. Let me just mention this. Hold on. Let me just mention something real quick. If you want to come to the boot camp, use the code Ortiz, ORTIZ, and you can come for $197. It's 3 days. I don't sell anything there. It's not a big sales pitch. I mean, that's not true. I talk about my coaching for about 30 minutes, but the other 3 days is full-on training. And if you go to that Rod's links, the bootcamp site is there. Just remember the code Ortiz. It's double that price now, but you can come for $197 for 3 days. Kind of a no-brainer if you're interested in this business. And let me add something, John. I'm sorry I interrupted, but then I'll shut up. We are heading into some economic, okay, a storm. Okay, it's coming. We're gonna see stuff happen here. I promise you. Definitely in the multifamily and really all commercial real estate space. And we can talk about why in a minute. But you've got to decide what vehicle you're going to use to take advantage of it, because everything's going to go on sale. Real estate, every asset class in real estate's going on sale. Businesses are going on sale. Of course, material goods like cars and things, everything's going on sale. So you got to decide how you're going to capitalize on what's coming. And so, I would encourage you to pick your vehicle and learn it as fast as possible, because if you're trying to learn it in the thick of it, it's going to be too late. So if it's multifamily, get your butt to my boot camp. If it's single family, go learn from somebody that teach you how to buy houses or buy businesses or whatever it is, but learn it now. Don't wait. Sorry, John. Just wanted to throw that in.
No problem. You heard it here first. Discount ORTIZ, 3 days, no brainer. Rod, we wanted to move a little bit into building a balanced team is, like we all know, essential for any successful business venture. Can you discuss the elements and importance of a balanced team in real estate and how important it is to build your team and how you build your team?
Sure. Well, it's really, I'm going to speak just to multifamily. Single family, you can buy them on your own. Okay. You don't need a team. I mean, I bought 2,000 houses mostly on my own. I had employees, but in multifamily, it's a team sport. And there are lots of different hats you can wear in this team sport. You can be the person that finds the deals. You can be the person that underwrites those deals. Maybe you're the analytical one and you love spreadsheets and you do the underwriting. Maybe you're the person that coordinates and is good with checklists and makes sure the deals get to closing. Maybe you're the person that's got some construction experience or project management experience or management experience of any kind, and you do the asset management after you buy the property and you're managing the management company. So there's, lots of different hats. Maybe you raise the money, you're the one that raises money for the deal. So there's lots of different hats you can wear, but that's how a team comes together. Now, in our business, most people will align with someone that's already got a few hundred or a few thousand doors, so they can use the we word and say, we own 500 doors, and you just align with the group to have that instant credibility, which is one of the reasons my Warriors are so successful. Man, my Warriors now own upwards somewhere between 170 and 180,000 units that we know of, and most of them are done between Warriors. And so, I would say this to you: if you're interested in this business, get in a group like that, because it is a team sport, and you're going to need to align with someone that's done it already to take down your first deal or two. That's everybody does. It's called a sponsor. You're going to need a sponsor, and that sponsor could put up the earnest money for you, can bring their balance sheet to the equation so that you qualify for the debt, and then they'll make sure you don't stub your toe on the first deal or two. So that's how it's done.
Those are some great points, Rod. And for the listeners that may be listening, I know you're an expert in both, obviously, the single family and the multifamily. Now, I know you told us about the lesson that you learned in 2008, but what are some of the other factors of why you like multifamily over single family, over even some of the other things out there, like storage units,
other asset classes?
Yeah,
sure,
other asset
sure.
classes, yeah.
Well, single family is kind of a no-brainer as to why. Again, I've owned 2,000 houses that I rented long-term, so I've got some credibility there. The problem is they actually don't cash flow well, because each property has its own taxes, its own insurance, and so they don't cash flow well. And it's pretty much the same amount of work to buy a house or a duplex or a triplex as it is to buy a 100-unit complex. It's about the same amount of work, okay? And so, it really doesn't make any sense, and you have much less ability to scale. I mean, what's easier, buying 20 houses or a 20-unit complex? Right? It's one closing, it's one loan, it's much easier. And so, the beautiful thing about let me just back up. So in single family or residential multifamily would be anything 4 units or smaller, two duplex, triplex, fourplex. That's residential. Here's the problem with that. The value is based on comparable sales. So, you're only going to get a value as high as what other properties have sold for. Well, in our world, in the commercial multifamily world, the value is based on a multiple of the net income. And any increase to that net income is an exponential increase to the value. I'll give you an example of this. So we have an asset in San Antonio, 296 units, and we painted numbers on the parking spaces. Okay, just some paint. In fact, the towing company would have done it for us for free, but we did it ourselves. And then we said, hey, you want your own parking place in front of your units? $25 a month. Had 100 people take it. That was an $800,000 instant increase in value. Wow. Okay, that's why we love this business. So any increase to the net income is an exponential increase to the value. I had a property in Beaver Creek, Ohio, which is a suburb of Dayton, a wealthy suburb of Dayton. 101 units, got destroyed by a tornado a few months after we bought it. True story. Nobody died, thank God. A couple of people had surgery, but they're okay. But all 101 families had to move. The property got, really damaged badly. And we were able to get $600 to $650 rent bumps there. Wow. That was a $10 to $12 million instant increase in value, okay? So that's what we do, is we do value add multifamily, where you buy a property, you improve it, you increase the rents, decrease the expenses, and increase that net income, that NOI, net operating income, because again, every dollar of increase in the net income is about $17 to $20 in value, okay? So, and why else do I like multifamily? It's the best asset class. When COVID hit, self-storage didn't get help from the government. Office didn't get help from the government. Retail didn't get help from the government. Industrial didn't get help. We got hundreds of thousands of dollars in rent relief money for our tenants that were struggling from the government. And so my point is, and multifamily, when 2008 and 9 crash happened, rents exceeded pre-crash levels in less than 3 years from the start of that crash. That's how fast it rebounded, okay? Wow. So, it's a solid, and we're becoming a renter nation here in the States, okay? People can't afford to buy, the interest rates are ridiculous, the values are ridiculous. So we're becoming a renter nation, so there's a huge demand for rentals. So anyway, that's why.
Wow. No, those are some solid points that we can agree with you 100% on what it can do to the net operating income, or what it can do to the value, rather, if you can increase the income or lower expenses. And that's why we love this game. That's why we love this space as well, right? As opposed to the single family, like you mentioned, the way they're valued. Now, what I wanted to ask you, you touched on it a little bit. I know you mentioned, value add. What do why do you focus on the value add as opposed to the A-class type of assets or the D-class type of assets? I know you've had experience with the D-class as well, so can you speak on that?
Well, no. All right. Yeah, so D's the hood, okay? trust me, you don't need that brain damage. I've had people killed in my properties, around my properties. I had, where I bought a whole block in Denver, and they put barricades at the end of the block to slow down the drug traffic, not stop it, just slow it down. I've had people, on that same block, they cut a hole in the front door to pass the crack through. Okay, that did just take too much effort and work. Where there's lower hanging fruit, where you don't have to deal with that crap. Okay, so that's D assets. A assets, you're banking on organic rent growth. Okay, you can't force the appreciation like you can with the value add. So you're banking on organic rent growth. Well, what happens if the rents don't go up? Rents have slowed down in a big way. Okay, and so I think the average in the major metros is they're anticipating about a 3% rent growth this year, not 5, not 10, or 20 or 30 like it's been in some markets here in the United States. So, if you've promised your investors a return, and you do an A asset and you're banking on that organic rent growth and you don't get it, well, you're going to have some pissed off investors and maybe some problems. And so, no, I like C assets. I like B assets. One more time. C assets in a B area, and I like B assets in an A area where I can go in and improve them and bring them up an asset class. That's my ideal target. But I honestly, I don't even like C assets right now in a C area, because that demographic is getting their butts handed to them with inflation and price of gas and everything else. And they're struggling. I mean, about 6 months ago, there were 20 million families behind on their utility bills here in the United States. 20 million families, okay? I mean, and people using credit cards to pay ordinary household expenses. I mean, what's wrong with that picture, right? And so, I know we're headed for a reckoning. There's no question in my mind. We've got 1.6 trillion in commercial debt that's coming due by the end of next year, and that debt either has to refinance or sell. Well, sales aren't happening. It's a 75% year-over-year decline in sales as of first quarter this year. Refinancing is incredibly difficult because a lot of these people have adjustable rate debt, and the payments have gone up, so their debt service coverage ratio is a problem. And what I mean by that is, the banks look at in commercial real estate, they look at the property's ability to service the debt, and they want to see the property making a decent amount more than what the debt payments are, and so. And typical, it's a 1.25% debt service coverage ratio. Let me explain what I mean by that. It's an annual number. Let's say you've got debt that's $100,000 for the year, and your net income is $125,000 for the year. Okay, that's a 1.25% debt service coverage ratio. But see, a lot of these people that have these adjustable rates are at 1 or sub 1, and so they're not even cash flowing in some cases. So that's a problem. They've got to buy that down so that they can cash flow to refinance. Interest rates are much higher, so their payments are going to be higher. So that exasperates it. And then you have to typically buy a rate cap where you're capping the interest rate. And to give you an idea what's happened there, in 2020, you could get a $100 million rate cap for 3%, 3 years for $23,000. Wow. That same rate cap, now this is about 3 months ago. 3 months ago, I checked, it's higher than that now, I bet. $100 million rate cap for 1 year, forget 3 years, you couldn't even get 3 years, for 1 year is 2.3 million. So, so that's why I know there's deals coming, because there's operators that are in this situation that are freaking out right now, frankly. And so it's kind of interesting that not more stuff is hitting the market yet. I'm surprised, but exponential opportunities are coming. And that's, I'll always get the question, you'll get the question from your investors, should I wait to buy? No, I mean, if the numbers make sense and the deal makes sense, I've got LOIs out on deals like I know you guys do as well right now, because the numbers make sense. But I do believe there will be exponential opportunities coming, okay, where there's even better, but they'll require more cash, they'll require liquidity, so they'll be a little more challenging to take down, but they're coming. And so I'm in a lot of cash, I have access to a lot of cash, and I'm getting moderately excited about this market we're heading into. So
absolutely, the market is shifting and it's changing, and we got to pivot to the right move. Absolutely. Rod, we'd love to hear how you're preparing and your predictions for the real estate market, and how do you foresee the current market, and how are you preparing yourself for this time around compared to 2008?
Yeah, I know we talked about it a little bit, but yeah.
I did kind of talk about how I feel it's a train headed for a freaking brick wall, and I truly believe that. But again, there'll be exponential opportunity. How am I preparing? I'm in a lot of cash. Whenever it says, with crisis comes opportunity, and in a crisis, cash is king. Okay, so there's that, or access to cash. Relationships, which is why I tell you start building relationships. You don't have a lot of money, learn this business and start building relationships. A lot of money out there looking for a home. I mean, tell you they're going to get their clocks cleaned in the stock market. It's coming. Just wait and see. Trust me. I'll bet money on it. We're going to see a crash here shortly in the stock market. And so, we won't even talk about what's happening in digital currency with FTX and billions of dollars lost there. But the point is, real estate is probably one of the most safest investments you can make, even though, we're seeing some pain on the horizon. But see, the pain are the operators that were aggressive these last couple of years, and they took on a very dangerous debt. It's called bridge debt. It's like the hard money lender equivalent in single family homes. And so that's adjustable rate debt. It's short term, and those guys are getting killed. And they did it because they got a higher loan to value when they bought, and the higher the loan to value, the better returns they can tell their investors they're going to get. But that's coming. All that's coming to roost. The water's going out. We're going to see who's naked here before too long. I will tell you, I've got an attorney, one of my main attorney that works with my students, and he's huge in the space. You know him, Merrill, and he says 45% of his business right now is working with people that are in trouble, forbearance, and capital calls. Your capital calls where you go to your investors that are in a deal and say, hey, we need more money to save this thing from losing. And so you're asking your investors for money, which is not a fun day. And so, a lot of that happening, forbearance is happening, foreclosures happening. So, I don't know if you saw the Wall Street Journal a couple of months ago, there's this huge article. One of my competitors' students, they lost thousands of units in Houston, big foreclosure. The guy was nefarious. I mean, he was an idiot too. I'm surprised he got as far as he did, but that, be that as it may, it's a black eye for the industry. But you're going to see more of that. These aggressive operators that didn't collect, collect operating reserves, like we have a minimum of 6 months expenses as operating reserves, just in, the what hit the fan fund, you're going to see operators that have never asset managed through a downturn. They're going to struggle, not paying attention to, really on a almost daily basis, what's happening with their key performance indicators, their metrics, and people that have never, worked through a downturn before. So that's all coming. So that's kind of how I've prepared. We're really tightening up our systems and, gearing up to hopefully be able to take down some of these distressed assets.
Absolutely.
Great points and golden nuggets there from Mr. Rod Khleif. Now, Rod, we know that you have been in the real estate market for an extended amount of time. We want to know a little bit, how has been your journey as a mentor and as a coach in growing this amazing group of people and teaching them how to be a skilled real estate professional? How's your journey been as a mentor and a coach in this past couple of years?
Well, I started my podcast 7 years ago because I wanted to tell people about my story. Because what was interesting, I had 800 houses, but I also had some apartment complexes. When everything went down, it was the houses that pulled me down. Apartments would have done just fine. If I hadn't cross-collateralized them with packages of houses, I'd still have them. And so I wanted to say, hey, if you're going to buy and hold real estate, for God's sakes, do multifamily, don't do single family. Use me as a poster child example. Okay, so I started the podcast. I used to tell people, and if you listen to first few episodes of my podcast, I say I'll never sell you anything. And now I'm a liar. I sell everything. But once I hit 1 million downloads, we're about to hit. We're over 17 million downloads right now. Wow. But when I hit 1 million downloads, I'm like, I better do something with this. So I wrote a book, #1 bestseller. By the way, it's on rodslinks.com. You can pay $6-7, so you get the physical copy of it. But #1 bestseller in multiple categories. So I gave that away. I gave 20,000 copies of that away, just the PDF. Now I give the physical copy away. And it actually costs me to send it to you. Trust me, it cost me about $14-15. In Canada, it's probably even more than that. But anyway, so and then I started taking free phone calls from my listeners, and I'd say, just, let's have a 30-minute call, help you with anything you want. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. And I didn't have anything to sell anyway. And I had hundreds of those 30-minute phone calls. Like I mentioned, when you add value and when you're consistent is how you build a following. And that's what I was doing. I was adding value. And then finally I decided I should do something with this. I built a course, I started selling that. Then I started doing coaching, and now I've got, 12 to 1,400 students that own somewhere between 170 and 180,000 units. And I've only really been teaching a little over 5 years, and very, very proud of that. That's kind of the journey. And my focus is continually adding value. I've got a dozen books on the floor here of different aspects of the business that I just give away. I'm constantly writing books and giving them away. And, we're constantly improving our Warrior program. And it's called My Warriors, as you guys know. And we have events just for our students, and we've got one coming up in Phoenix in November. And of course, I got my boot camp in September in Orlando. But we just focus on adding value. What you give, you receive, and you get it back 100-fold or 1,000-fold. And I just give. And that's just, it's worked really well.
I love it. And we can definitely attest to what Rod had mentioned. We are part of the group, and there's something special about the community and what you've been able to create in terms of the people in the community, right? There's one thing is to have a mentorship program, but the other thing is to have like special people in that program where everybody's cheering each other. You have resources across, not only USA, but Canada now, right? Of course. So
let me mention something on that. This business, I told you it's a team sport, and who you hang out with is very, very important. I didn't talk about peer group, and this is an extraordinary peer group, as you guys know, and everybody helping each other. When they have a win, everybody's congratulating them, and you want to be really, really careful, especially if you're just getting started in this or anything, frankly. Your dream is a fragile thread, and that thread can be broken if you tell it to the wrong person. So many people, they default to a peer group of people they went to school with or people they work with. And very often some of those people will have their own fears or limiting beliefs holding them back. And they can put those fears or limiting beliefs on you and cause you to, completely derail you. And so, and sometimes it's family. I will tell you, love your family, but proactively choose your peers. Okay. And so, be very, very careful, because, I tell you, show me your 3 best friends, I'll show you who you are, every aspect of your life, your happiness, your health, your relationships, and your money. It's who you hang out with is who you become. So, and that's why the Warrior Group is so fantastic. And by the way, if you're interested in the Warrior Group, text the word crush to 72345. It will help you crush it in this business. And again, that's crush to 72345. And if that doesn't work in Canada, you go to my website on Rod's Links, my personal Rod Khleif site, and there's a place there you can apply. But that's how you apply to the program. I'm very proud of it.
No, we were very happy to have found it. And just to tell you a little funny story how I came across that is that I was driving down to North Carolina, Charlotte from Canada, about 10 hours to Charlotte from Toronto. And I just started listening to the podcast. I got into it, and I listened to probably 50 to 60 episos on my way there because it was 8 hours.
Holy cow.
and
that sounds miserable, man. That sounds like cruel and unusual punishment.
No, I got tremendous value, and just hearing your students, hearing some of the success, and on my way back, I listened to another probably 10, 20 episodes, and by then I felt like I knew you. I felt like I knew what you're about. I like the message that you preach and the mindset component of it. But that's how I stumbled across. And then when we came back, I told John, I was like, we're joining the Warriors. And then we actually signed up for the Denver boot camp before joining. And then like a couple weeks before we.
Oh, you guys were in Denver. That's right. I'd forgotten. Yeah, that was a very special event for me.
That was a great event.
You guys know why. Yeah.
So Rod, as I just said that, I wanted to ask you, did you have any mentors along your journey? And can you speak on some of your mentors and what that
not in the real estate side, the real estate side. Now, my biggest mentor is probably Tony Robbins. I talk about, running into him when I was, I had achieved incredible success, but I was really depressed, and went and saw him and had a life-changing epiphany, and I've followed him around the planet for 20 years. So, which is, I will tell you, which is probably one of the biggest precursors to my success, because I spend so much time talking about mindset and psychology, because that's 80 to 90% of your success in anything. And even on my podcast, I do these clips called Own Your Power, which are, just to do that, for you to own your power. And they're very motivational with music. You give me 5 minutes a week, I'll juice you. Okay, that's all it takes. Just give me 5 minutes a week. There's hundreds of them there, but yeah. So I know that's the reason the podcast has been so successful, because people don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. And those clips make people feel and look in the mirror and become more. And so, yeah.
I can speak on those. I've listened to a bunch of those, and even when you're having a hard day, you listen to those, and it juices you up. Like you said, gives you energy, and it just puts you on the right trajectory. So, no, I can definitely speak on this.
Rod, we wanted to touch base on selling versus refinancing and maximizing your returns. In real estate investing, one critical decision that investors often face is whether to sell the property or refinance it. When the business plan is completed, could you share your insights on its advantages to choose one option over the other?
Well, a lot of operators will sell just because they need the liquidity. My model is buy, refinance, get our investors most of their money back, and then they're in it for life. It's legacy wealth, and if they have all their money back, the returns are infinity, right? And so that's our model: buy, refinance, get our investors all or most of their money back, and then we just stay with it, a legacy asset, cash flowing. There's a reason my podcast is called Lifetime Cash Flow. And by the way, if you're listening, I hope you'll check it out. It's on Rod's links. The link to my podcast is there, and you could also go to rodspodcast.com. But anyway, that's, I forgot where I was going with that. I forgot the question or the answer. It's never pretty when you lose your mind.
The question was about whether to sell or refinance once you've kind of exited.
Oh, sell or refi. Right. So our model is refinance, but a lot of operators do have to sell and just to boost returns. And I'm not gonna say we've never sold. We've gone full cycle on. It's called full cycle. We've gone full cycle on deals, but to me, I interviewed a billionaire. It was my first interview. His name's Albert Barris, and a couple funny stories there. But I was 45 minutes to an hour into the interview and looked down and realized I forgot to hit the record button. You can imagine. I was mortified, but he's been on the show like 3 times since then. But he's a billionaire, and he told me something that stuck with me, which was, I'm not a real estate, this was his quote, I'm not a real estate seller, I'm a real estate buyer, period. What else can you buy that someone else pays off for you, right? I regret every property I've ever sold, candidly. I really do. I absolutely do. So there's one exception. There's a couple of exceptions. Some crappy properties I bought. I had one in Shreveport. Good God, I don't even want to fly over Shreveport airspace. But I feel my IQ will drop if I fly over the airspace at this point. But if you live in Shreveport, I'm sorry, but you know the truth. But anyway, so yeah. But most of my properties I regret selling.
Yeah, especially because you've had some properties in Denver, which I know is completely.
Oh my God! Don't bring that up. Florida. Shit, I had 500 houses in Denver. If I still had those 500 houses, of course they'd be free and clear. I would be netting, bottom line net, $1 million a month. Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. But I never would have met my wife. And if you follow me on social, I have a supermodel, beautiful wife, and she's more beautiful on the inside than the outside. So that's how I come to terms with that last piece.
Fair enough. Now, Rod, just to touch on that a little bit, I'm sure the listeners will get tremendous value from this. Can you tell the audience or the listeners a little bit about your first kind of larger multifamily? Just a little details on it, just some high level. I don't think I've
oh God, that was a long time ago, bud. That was a long time ago. It was an 88 unit, I think, here in Charlotte County, Florida. I don't know, 30 years ago. And I don't honestly remember many of the details. Unfortunately, I lost it because I had cross-collateralized it with packages of houses, and the whole thing went down. It's crazy. And my multifamily would have survived. It only went down about 10%, easily survived, which is why I'm a testament to multifamily. It was kind of a cool asset because it came with 5 acres that was also zoned for heavy density, a lot of units. Okay. And yeah, it was so painful to lose that asset because it was beautiful. I mean, they're probably triple the rents down there now. So yeah, painful.
Fair enough. And then just to kind of get your perspective, because you have so much experience, what are some of the markets that you're kind of keeping a pulse on, or what are some of the markets?
Yeah,
what are the things that you look in the markets?
Well, I mean, I love Florida. I live in Florida. The problem is the insurance here is insane. Okay, the insurance costs have gone through the roof. I have roofers here right now replacing the roof on my guest house. I have 6 buildings here. It's an it's almost $1 million insurance claim. Okay, and we finally settled. So insurance we had Hurricane Ian. It's just insane here. And so our target right now is out of the insurance zones. It's like Georgia, it's Western Carolinas, it's Tennessee, it's Ohio, just so I don't have to contend with the insurance. Now, that being said, I am going to start looking for stuff here in Florida and just try to suck it up and get stuff, because I really believe, Florida is just going to continue to explode for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is the politics. I believe Florida ultimately will be like California.
Like California. And just to tie up to that question, do you focus on like landlord friendly as opposed to not landlord?
Oh yeah, no blue states, no way. Okay. I will not buy in a blue state like New York or California, no way. For a lot of reasons, not the least of which is I'm definitely the other side politically in a big way. But that being said, it's harder to do business. Yes. I mean, they have rent controls. They have taxation is insane. They have huge deficits because of the stupid crap that they're putting out there as far as legislation. And you guys want to talk about Trudeau for a minute? No, I'm kidding. I'm messing with you. Anyway, so no, it's like, why would you? You can buy anywhere in the country. Why not buy where they want your business, right?
Yes,
not where they're going to try to screw you over and over-regulate you and no way.
No, I couldn't agree more. That's exactly why although we're in Canada, our main focus is in the US, and that's why we decided to go that route, because it is just a nightmare here having properties, both from tenants to the government and and much more, like you mentioned there.
Rod, at this point in your career, I mean, you're extremely successful across the country. At this point in your career, what are some of your long-term goals and some of your short-term goals now in this day and age?
Well, I want to get. I'm gonna get a kind of an off-the-grid farm in Tennessee near my brother, or in Georgia near my brother. So that's one thing I'm doing. I'm also Beautiful. Tiff and I want to get a condo in South Beach. We love going down there. She's younger than I am, and I used to live there for a couple of years when I was young and stupid and single, and and I loved it. I love the energy of it. So we're gonna get a place there probably in the next couple of months, actually, I've got some some materialistic goals. I wrecked my Lamborghini. I may get another one of those, stupid shit like that. But I will tell you, I get so much pleasure from seeing student success, and this is not hyperbole. This is the truth. I mean, I get love literally every single day. I get an email or a gift or a card or somebody just saying, "Man, you changed my life," or things are amazing. I went to Ryan Pineda. He's a thought leader. I went to his WealthCon in Vegas. There were 1,100 people there, and when I tell you that I had more selfies taken there than I think he did, because I get recognized now, and and it never gets old. I mean, I'm never going to take it for granted. It's such a blessing, and I get so much pleasure and delight from seeing people take action with and that I played a small role in that. So that's
amazing and very, very inspiring. Rod, we always like to have some fun in our episodes. So here are a couple of fun questions for you. If you could invest in real estate anywhere in the world without any limitations, where would it be, and what would you buy or build?
Well, I'm pretty bullish on Florida, man. I really am. I actually I'm going to stay close to home. I love Florida. I should be a poster child for the Chamber of Commerce here. I love it so much. I mean, I'm in shorts. I won't stand up and make you suffer through seeing that, but I'm in shorts right now. I've got flip-flops on, and it's like that all year round, which is, if you've ever come to one of my boot camps, you'll notice I'm in flip-flops and I wore jeans at the Denver event, but I'll be in shorts at my Orlando event to screw it. It's very freeing. It's very freeing and liberating to become less and less dictated by the opinion of others. And as you get older and evolve, you become less and less interested in the opinion of others, and you can be relaxed, and that's really, that's what I'm aspiring to do in every aspect of my life. So that's one. Florida's my answer.
Okay, good answer. And then we know you have a fantastic podcast, but if you were to host a real estate themed reality TV show, what would it be called, and what would be the premise?
Just Do It would be the name of it. I still Nike. I just watched that show with Matt Damon about Michael Jordan at something of where they did the Air Jordans. I watched it last night, so that's fresh on my mind. Nike's fresh on my mind. Great show, by the way. I saw it on Netflix. But So that would be the name of the show. And it would be to push people that were scared and introverted into actually taking action and changing their lives. Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. And it's interesting, just kind of a little story as we're kind of wrapping up here. I actually watched Arnold's Netflix documentary not long ago, and he talks a lot about visualization. And it reminded me of you, right? Because I know when we go to the events and everything, it's a lot of visualization. I have my poster here with all the things that I dream, and he
vision board.
Vision board, yes.
Yeah.
And he had the same thing about becoming a governor, about becoming a bodybuilder, actor, and it just really reminded me of the power of visualization. Can you speak to the audience just a little bit on that and how important?
Sure. I mean, it's been huge. I mean, before I got my wife, I had a vision board of for her, and I actually wrote out in great detail what I was looking for in a woman. I mean, like pages, exhaustive detail.
Wow.
And I visualized her, and the minute I met her, I knew it was her. I mean, instantly. And this was 13 years ago, this last July. And so, I've had vision boards. I used to have one vision board. Now I've got vision boards for every different part. I'm hit there right over there. I could go get them, but you'd have to see my knobby knees if I did that. But I believe in vision boards, and I've got some down in my other office here as well. And, very often in the morning, I'll sit in my recliner and I'll just do gratitude. I'll be grateful for my beautiful wife, my kids, my foundation, my students, then I'll do gratitude for the things that I want as if I already have them. And sometimes I'll get emotional being grateful for things I don't even have yet. Wow. And I'm sure I lost some of you analytical ones on that, but this is how I had 50 million to lose and how I got it back. Okay, I'm a huge advocate for visualization. I mean, I've used it to get cars and watches and my wife and houses, and so I mean it works. That's just you call it prayer if you like. If that makes you feel better, call it prayer. But trust me, it works.
I love it. As we're wrapping up here, Rod, towards the end, whether they're a beginner or an advanced real estate careers or anywhere where they might be for the audience, what would be your number one tip and advice in today's world and day and age?
Get educated. That's it. Just get educated. Pick your freaking vehicle. I don't care if it's multifamily, but pick something, because the opportunity's coming. And if you don't get educated and get up to speed and build relationships, it's going to pass you by. Because there's a lot of people are saying it could be the greatest transfer of wealth we see in our lifetimes. Okay, but you got to be up to speed. You got to be ready for it, and so you can capitalize on it. And and grind for a few years like most people won't, so you can live the rest of your life like most people can't. And that's what I would tell you. And so, get up to speed, pick your vehicle, see what you'd enjoy doing, and learn it as fast as you can, because the clock is ticking.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that tip. And Rod, just as we're kind of wrapping up here, we are also, for the folks that are listening, we're also immigrants from Colombia. So, it's your story is a very inspiring story, and, you've paved the way for a lot of us coming up. So just want to thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Rod, I will attach your social media links, but what is the best way for folks to connect with you? I know you've mentioned a couple.
Yeah, the best way, I would highly encourage you to listen to my podcast. I promise you'll be glad you did if you do. And if you go to rodslinks.com, rods plural, links plural.com, there's all my link tree is there. There's a bunch of free books there, good books. I'm not talking about crappy. I mean, these are best in class books about asset management, property management, partnerships, and due diligence checklists. And so there's a bunch of free stuff there. My podcast is there. My bootcamp site is there. Remember, use the code Ortiz. I got to remember to tell my team that. Go to Rod's Links or text the word links to 72345, and we'll send you that domain so you can go there and, again, take advantage. Go do my goal setting workshop. If you can't come to Orlando to my boot camp, do that goal setting workshop. I mean, trust me, I'll juice you if you give me a little bit of your time, and it's important. If you want to capitalize on what's coming, it's critical that you get clear on what you want, so you don't get caught up in all the noise, all the fear from the media and the crap they put out there. And that the only way to do that is to stay focused on what you want and why you want it. So goals are super important through this period of time that we're heading into.
Absolutely, Rod. And
so Rod's Links.
Rod's links. Okay. I will make sure to put that in the show notes as well. And I can agree with you. Last year when we first joined, we had a goal to get 100 units, and long and behold, we were able to accomplish that. And it's all because of the goals, the vision, everything that Rod has mentioned here. So just wanted to add that to there. And other than that, we want to express our deepest gratitude, Rod, for joining us today and sharing your incredible insights and experience in the real estate industry. Rod, your journey and wisdom you've shared will be undoubtedly inspired for our audience of passive investors and active investors.
Thank you all.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you all for tuning in. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes, and we will bring you some exceptional guests and provide valuable knowledge for investing passively.
And hold on, and make sure. And hey, hold on, and make sure you go to iTunes and leave a 5-star review. That's how the podcast ranks. So make sure you go there and leave a 5-star review. Super important.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Rod.
All right.
Okay. Cheers.
Take care, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, Rod.